We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, December 3rd here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Hail.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Happy Wednesday! And also Cheska's with us.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Happy Wednesday! And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're right in the middle of the weekend. Since today is Consumer Day, it's the perfect time to talk about how modern conveniences shape our daily lives. And here in Korea, few things feel more embedded in our routines than DawnDelivery. From fresh groceries to daily goods, it's become so seamlessly embedded in our lives that we hardly stop to think about how much has changed the way we shop, eat, and even organize our days. So Cheska, how often would you say that you use DawnDelivery?
I mean, even before we start talking about it, I didn't even know that there was a life before the DawnDelivery.
Right.
It's so embedded in my life.
There was.
Yeah, at least twice a week because I do groceries. And Soo-jin, you and I talked about the amazing Korean delivery system.
Right.
I live alone, so I don't have anyone else to do my shopping. So when I'm lying down before going to bed, it is on my to-do list to make sure I order things that I need for the next day. Also, as a freelancer working in like very fast-paced industry like media and broadcast, sometimes I need things the day of. And then, you know, life has been a lifesaver. The midnight deliveries and the late night delivery has saved my job in a couple of incidents. Yeah.
Right. What's interesting, it's not just food. It's like you mentioned production goods as well. So there's a whole variety of things that are available. So what about you saying? How often do you use DawnDelivery?
Oh, every day. Almost every day, I should say. I use DawnDelivery so often that that's practically has become part of my daily routine. And before, I used to save up my grocery list or to hit that minimum order amount. Otherwise, the delivery fee would kick in. But once I signed up for a membership and got free delivery, that completely changed my habits. Now I just order what I need whenever I need it, almost every day. For a working mom like me who really doesn't have time to go grocery shopping offline, it's almost like a lifesaver, like Cheska said. And what do I usually buy? My kids' milk, bread, ingredients for soup, or side dishes I need to cook.
Everything.
Just everything. So yeah, I can't imagine my life without the DawnDelivery system.
Right, I can imagine as a working mom, you're not just shopping for yourself, you're shopping for your whole family. So it's like a whole plethora of items that you need, right? So DawnDelivery is clearly a huge part of all of our lives here on this today. So we're going to dive deeper into this topic, but first, let's take a look at the screen. South Korea is famous for its fast and efficient delivery system. You name it, it can be delivered from groceries and restaurant meals to almost anything you can imagine. But there's another side to this convenience, especially when it comes to DawnDelivery. The race to deliver goods as quickly as possible comes with challenges from overworked delivery workers to safety concerns. Today on News Generation, in honor of Consumer Day, we're taking a closer look at the recent debates surrounding DawnDelivery, the measures being considered to prevent worker fatalities, and what the future of this industry might look like. So as we just saw in the video, while DawnDeliveries have made our lives incredibly convenient, they have also brought serious challenges, especially for the workers who made it all possible. From grueling schedules to safety risk, the pressure on delivery workers has sparked heated debates here in Korea. So can you explain what has sparked these recent debates about DawnDeliveries, Cheska?
Yes, so the delivery issue has become a hot issue here in South Korea after the Korea Trade Union proposed a complete ban on deliveries between midnight and 5 a.m. Now, this was in response to several very unfortunate events that took place here in South Korea. I mean, just last month, a delivery worker in Jeju died during his late night shift. And shortly following that, a man in his 30s in Hwasong also died during his early morning shift. Now, according to data from Company C, in the last 5 years, since 2020, almost 26 people have reported death during work, and 18 of those deaths have been classified or categorized as overwork death. Here in Korea, we call that 과로상. So this definitely calls into light a very, very important question about improving working conditions for these people. And it is not just limited to one company. There's definitely a socio-economic culture that has promoted this kind of speed and fast working conditions. So we have to wonder whether, our fast-paced lifestyle has come too high at a human cost. Yeah.
So you just painted a very tragic and alarming picture of the human cost behind these Dawn deliveries, and it really puts the union's proposal and the safety concerns into perspective. But at the same time, Dawn deliveries aren't just a convenience. They've become a symbol of Korea's booming e-commerce industry. And I heard that many in the industry, including actually the workers themselves, actually have strong opinions about limiting these hours. So could you explain why there's such pushback, even in the face of these serious issues from the workers themselves, Haeyoung?
Yes, sure. Like you said, Dawn Delivery isn't just another logistics service anymore. It's really become a symbol, pillar of the nation's booming e-commerce industry. And because of that, there's been a strong pushback across the industry whenever the idea of restricting or banning late-night delivery comes up. To give some perspective, the Dawn Delivery market here is worth around 15 trillion won this year, with nearly 20 million users. And it's a core part of domestic consumption, and even among delivery workers themselves. Many are opposed to full ban on overnight operations. And take Company C, which is currently under fire for a major customer data leak incident. When they surveyed their delivery drivers, 93% said they were against banning late night delivery. And their reasoning was pretty straightforward. The traffic is lighter at night, which makes the job more efficient. And they can earn between 1.5 to 2 times more than daytime work. So for many drivers, removing the Dawn Delivery system altogether isn't just about losing convenience, it's about threatening their livelihood.
So the debate really comes from, it's not just the companies pushing back, but the workers themselves who depend on these hours to make a living. So that really highlights how delicate the balance is between safety and livelihood. So we wanted to know what you think too about this topic. So we asked on the Arirang News YouTube channel, what do you think about Dawn Delivery services? So here's what the results showed. About 64% of respondents said the measure is necessary, while 30% felt it was unnecessary. Another 6% fell into the other category, indicating mixed or unclear views. So most people still want Dawn deliveries to continue, which isn't surprising considering how heavily we have come to rely on them. But almost a third saying it's unnecessary means the public is starting to question whether the convenience is worth the pressure it puts on workers. So how have Korean consumers then been reacting to this Dawn deliveries debates here?
Well, most Korean consumers still feel that Dawn delivery is very necessary. The service has become so normalized
Right.
here that many people see it almost as part of our everyday infrastructure. And because of the level of reliance is so high, the idea of losing it feels almost unthinkable for a lot of households. If we take a look at the screen, according to a joint survey by Consumers Together and the Korea Consumer Federation, 51% of respondents said Dawn Delivery is simply a good service, and another 38% said it's essential. Meanwhile, fewer than 1% said it was not necessary at all, which shows just how deeply this service has taken root. And a working mom even posted a national petition saying that losing Dawn Delivery would seriously disrupt her family's daily routine. And that petition gained a lot of support online as well. And it shows how emotionally and practically invested consumers are in keeping the system alive.
And as a working mom yourself, I'm sure you can relate to this as well. So it's become such a part of everyday routine that people can't imagine life without them. And that petition really shows how real that fear is for busy families. But I'm curious, convenience aside then, what do surveys show about how disruptive a Dawn delivery suspension could be for consumers, Jessica?
Yeah, so according to a survey conducted by Korea Consumer Agency, 64% of the respondents actually said, and quote, significant inconvenience if Dawn delivery were to be discontinued. Now, but from the public side, there's a very significant moral conflict because I'm a public too. As much as we would want a convenient service, we do want to protect workers' condition. So people are putting their voices out for changes in the system as well. Now, according to an article published in Gyeongyang, logistic experts note that the race for speed in Korea's delivery market has pushed companies to a very accelerated system and making sustainable reform more urgent than ever to actually remedy the situation and promote a sustainable working condition.
So you just pointed out what people in the general public are saying in the surveys, but as a young consumer and also as a working mom, where do you personally stand on this issue, Sam?
Personally, I don't think an outright ban on dawn delivery is the right solution, at least not without addressing the fundamental issues that lead to tragedies like overwork and even death among delivery workers. Dawn delivery isn't just a convenience for consumers. It plays a crucial role in the lives of so many people across the nation, across the system, I mean. The workers who depend on the night shift for their income, the families who rely on it to keep their daily routines run smoothly, and the small and medium-sized businesses that rely on these platforms to survive. So rather than just simply eliminating the service altogether, I believe the focus should be on rebuilding a safe and fair working system. That means guaranteeing proper rest breaks within designated hours, enforcing limits on working time, and making sure workers aren't burdened with unnecessary tasks outside of delivery itself.
Right, like you said, finding the balance is, I feel like, key instead of just getting rid of it altogether. So what are your thoughts on this, Jessica?
I mean, I completely agree with Taeyong, and I'm all for protecting human rights and the proper working condition. I think that should come first and foremost. But I think banning the midnight delivery outright may not be the best solution because, as Taeyong mentioned and as we discussed in today's episode, there are so many elements to consider when it comes to why people choose certain jobs. And there are certain hours that are only available to certain workers. So it might be taking away their livelihood, but there is definitely a need to address this. And I hope more conversations go on. And I would like to hear more as a public and a consumer and also working person.
Right, I feel like an outright ban isn't really acknowledging the problem and taking responsibility. So consumers clearly will also feel the impact. Most say a suspension would be a major inconvenience, but at the same time, there's growing recognition that the system really needs to change to protect the workers. So it really is a complicated issue. So we're going to get a legal perspective on this. So soon we're going to speak with a lawyer, and that conversation will come right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out Channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is An Jung-sung, a U.S. licensed attorney currently based in Korea. Hello, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. So what's the current status of the proposed dawn delivery ban, and could it become law?
Well, based on the current reporting, the labor groups such as the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions affiliated with the Korea unions have proposed a restriction on delivery service between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., which we call just pre-dawn, right? And this has triggered public and industrial discussions about what media call late night delivery ban, right? The proposal for the late night delivery ban was initially made by the Korean labor group. However, interestingly, and other delivery worker associations have publicly oppose it. So therefore, many reasons, right? For example, the premium wage in Korea is 50% for overnight. So it's a big difference for salary for the workers. And now the matter is currently being discussed within the government-led Korea Social Dialogue Committee, which means that it's still under public review. And therefore, the late night delivery ban has not been introduced as a formal bill in the Korean National Assembly yet, and it still remains a proposal under discussion. So it's not a government policy yet.
Well, I also want to ask how the International Labor Organization or other countries regulates night work.
So yes, for example, like the International Labor Organization, ILO, has a clear framework for the night work, what they call it night work, and then it's protections. First, it defines night work at least 7 consecutive hours, which include the period between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., right? Just like the late delivery here. And the second, the ILO emphasized 3 major principles. Like first, that they consider their work as a protected group, which means that they must receive regular health checkups and have access to safe working conditions and should be given opportunity to transport to daytime when needed. And second, additional compensation should be guaranteed, which means that premium wage and compensation time off. In this case, Korea is very doing well compared to other countries because Korea is a premium wage of 50% is higher than other countries. And vulnerable workers and require special protection. For example, the pregnant workers or the minors should either be prohibited from or heavily restricted in performing late night work. So if we talk about Korea, right? And Korea does provide 50% wage premium for the late night work between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., which align with the international compensation aspect. However, there's a deep difference. Underlying philosophy is different between Korea and many European countries. For example, in France and Germany, a network as considered as something should be restricted by principle and allow only under exceptional conditions, right? And however, on Korea takes a more compensation-centered approach and is focusing on wage premiums rather than the treating night work as the exceptionally high-risk activity. So as a result, international system, especially in Europe, tend to be more protection-oriented, whereas the Korea's framework remain primarily wage-based.
Mr. Ahn, in your expert opinion, and we know there are multiple areas to consider, what are some legal measures that could be and should be implemented to prevent future death during these kind of late night work shifts?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer because, as you discussed earlier today, and there's many issues. It's not only legal, and there's like social issues as well. But if we focus on the issue about how to prevent fertility during the late delivery work, I guess it's more like we need to get a comprehensive approach that tackle many issues like overwork, fatigue, and unsafe working conditions. So it's a very complicated issues, and it's hard to implement it. Also, it's very difficult to bring it into the legal framework. So, for example, and there will be about social issues, right? Because as many people, love, late night delivery ban because of the convenience, right? There's a very strong, strong, public, for interest about not public, public is really like, the pre-delivery and the late delivery service, so there is convenience issues. So, for the example, how to do it's like we can prevent or making some regulation on the continuous night shift hours, right? Maybe you can have some limit on certain, some individuals how many hours you can do it per night, and then also worker can have some sufficient rest. Right? And like European countries, you can have like at least 10 to 11 consecutive hours after the overworked night. So all the delivery volume should be limited to some workers so that they aren't forced into dangerous speed pressure. So it's more like relieving some of the speed pressure and bring more safety measure. I think that's one of the way they can do it in practice.
I think you share some important points that we can all think about. And thank you so much also for sharing your legal expertise today with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just heard from a legal expert on the progress of the DawnDelivery ban and what reforms might help prevent further tragedies in the delivery industry. And on the ground, unions themselves have been pushing for specific solutions like one we talked about earlier. So what kind of changes are labor groups calling for to prevent overwork, especially when it comes to reducing late night hours and easing the pressure to deliver everything at dawn, Jessica?
Yep, the core of the proposal from the worker union is to regulate the excessive speed competition in the industry, as Mr. Ahn, our interviewee, has just mentioned. Since not every single item truly requires overnight delivery, the idea is to, number one, sort and prioritize shipments so that early morning work is actually minimized, and also setting limits on the actual workload and working hours assigned to each individual is also very important. Also, as mentioned before, many medical experts have emphasized the detrimental effect of overnight work with stats for high increase in depression and physical illness. So limiting and regulating hours, and I think in all aspects, is quite critical.
So what you said makes a lot of sense. Regulating speed and reducing unnecessary night shifts could really help ease the burden on delivery workers. But even with those preventive measures, there's still the question, what happens when accidents, God forbid, occur or workers' rights aren't fully protected? So what kinds of legal or regulatory changes are being suggested to better safeguard workers when accidents do happen, Taeyoung?
Well, one of the main ideas being discussed is strengthening post-incident regulations so that when accidents do happen, companies are held responsible and required to put stricter safety measures in place. Another key issue is the legal status of dawn delivery workers. Most of them are currently classified as special employment workers, which means they fall outside many of the protections that regular employees receive, things like industrial accident compensation, working hour caps, or stronger safety oversight. So there is a push to expand existing labor laws or revise the classification system so that these workers can receive proper legal protections.
So it sounds like even with stronger post-accident rules and better rest guarantees, the fact that most Dawn delivery workers are classified as special contract workers may still continue to leave them vulnerable. So to close off our discussion today, where should this system then go from here? And what changes are needed to make it more safer, more sustainable, Jessica?
That is such a difficult question, and I'll try to answer the best that I can. Before a consumer, I'm also a part of the working public, meaning as a worker, everyone, I think, including myself, deserve to be protected under the law so we can be safe when we're in any type of working condition. That being said, which is one of the reasons why I'm not confident enough to say we should completely ban the deliveries, because as Hae-young mentioned, and we discussed here extensively, there are so many conditions to consider when it comes to late night deliveries and how it ties directly to the livelihood to a lot of workers. That being said, I do really hope for structural changes, but also change in the culture and the speed at which we do things. I love having midnight and late night deliveries as well, but if we keep pushing that without giving a sustainable protection and system, then it's only going to fall apart and everything will fall on us and the people that are trying to make their lives and lives better. Yeah.
I think that was very well said. So what are your thoughts on this, Hae-young?
Well, you know, it's incredible to think about how quickly things have changed. Just a few years ago, most of us couldn't even imagine this ordering system late at night and having it show up at our doorstep before sunrise. I felt almost like magic when it first appeared, but I think we've become a little too numb to that magic. We've gotten so used to that convenience that we sometimes forget the amount of labor, the physical effort, and the long hours that make it possible. So as consumers like us, we also have responsibilities, I think. We need to pay close attention to how the protections for workers evolve, the legal safeguards, the working conditions inside the companies, and whether real improvements are being made. We have to keep a close eye on that too.
Like you said, it's so important to remember to not take things for granted, and days like this are really a good reminder of that. So Dawn delivery has become part of everyday life in Korea, a system countless people rely on, especially working parents who depend on those early morning drop-offs to keep their routines running smoothly. It's undeniably convenient for all of us, but ensuring the workers behind that convenience can do their jobs safely is just as essential. And convenience matters, but so does protecting the people who make that convenience possible. So this conversation will likely continue, but one thing is quite clear: the future of Dawn delivery has to include safer, fairer conditions for the workers. So that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Hae-young.
Thank you.
And also Cheska.
Pleasure to be mine. Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have the best day. We are News Generation.